called Chicken on a Stick.
Hi, I'm Patrick,
I'm Maggie.
and we are Chicken on a Stick. Welcome to episode number 2.
Welcome, welcome.
Today we're going to be talking about the movie La La Land, which, if you didn't know, is where the name Chicken on a Stick comes from.
Yep.
When we first met many years ago, this is a movie, basically the first movie we really kind of bonded over. Maggie really, really loved it. I'm sure she probably asked me first if I had ever seen it.
Yes.
I don't quite recall at that point, but that's how she tells it at least.
Yeah.
So before we jump into this movie to talk about it in more in depth, just to read a little bit of the synopsis from the back of the Blu-ray cover. Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling star as Mia and Sebastian, an actress and a jazz musician pursuing their Hollywood dreams and finding each other in a vibrant celebration of hope, dream, and love.
Very, very well put.
Okay. Well,
It was one of those movies that when I watched it for the first time, it just blew my mind. Absolutely blew my mind. I was so obsessed with it.
Okay. So we'll just dive into the movie then.
This is what you wanted from me.
To be in this band?
To be in a band, to have a steady job, to be,
Of course, I wanted you to have a steady job so that you could take care of yourself and your life and you could start your club.
Yeah, so I'm doing that. So I don't understand. Like, why aren't we celebrating?
Why aren't you starting your club?
You said yourself no one wants to go to that club. No one wants to go to a club called Chicken on a Stick.
So change the name.
Well, no one likes jazz. Not even you.
I do like jazz now because
And
of
this
you.
is what I thought you wanted me to do. What am I supposed to do? Go back to playing Jingle Bells?
I'm not saying that. I'm saying why don't you
Scraping pennies so I can
take
start
what
a
you've
club that
made
no one
and
wants to
start the
go
club.
to?
There, people will want to go to it because you're passionate about it, and people love what other people are passionate about. You remind people of what
Not
they
in my
forgot.
experience.
Okay, so with this movie, I watched this movie twice today, basically.
Yeah.
I watched the commentary with director Damien Chazelle and composer Justin Hurwitz, I think is how you say his last name. And their commentary was interesting, to say the least. You can definitely tell that they were like old college roommate buddies, because they kind of joked with each other throughout the whole movie and kind of poked fun at each other, which was entertaining at the least.
Very familiar with each other.
Right. So the movie itself starts off, this was just a fun little tidbit. The director name drops tons of movies during the commentary where he was like influenced by things going all the way to like Sleeping Beauty and for
Really?
certain scenes, and like so Disney movies to other older films that I've never even heard of before. But the very beginning of the movie opens in a different aspect ratio and in black and white, and then expands into a widescreen format with color. And that was inspired by a movie called Girl Can't Help It. Never heard of it.
I've
but
never
he
heard of
name
it.
drops that directly as
Interesting.
the inspiration for them doing that opening.
That's very cool. Was the opening the same as like how it closes out in that same format? I can't remember now. No. I like that. I like the inspiration from older movies. That's where you can really tell someone that really is passionate about film. I think that's pretty cool. So yeah, I think that's really neat when you can actually see that and hear that from the director and the people that are involved in the film. Really neat.
Yeah, and then they talked a little bit about the opening number. There was an overture originally that they ended up cutting from the film completely because it was either they cut that or they cut this opening song number.
Right.
And they just they realized that this fits better than what the overture would have originally done. Because if they cut the opening song and dance number, it's not until like 9 10 minutes into the movie that the first actual song happens. So you're
Right.
like into the movie for a bit, and then you're like, oh wait, this is a musical?
I think that the opening sequence is really what pulls most of the people in anyway. It's a fantastic opening sequence. And I would also like to throw it out there before we get into everything that if Patrick had a penny for every single time I've pointed out in any movie or TV show, anything that was La La Land filmed related, I will always stop and go, I've been there. I saw that. I went there specifically to
is
see
true.
that. I went to LA after the movie came out for the first time ever and got to go and see a lot of the filming locations. And it was really cool, but it was also really crowded because I was not the only person with that idea. Do you know how long it took to get to the top of the Griffith Observatory? It's only a couple miles. Like, it's not that long of a distance from the bottom of the hill to the top. 2 hours.
Why didn't you just walk?
It was uphill and I don't like to walk.
I don't think I'd sit in a car for 2 hours for that.
There were so many cars and so many people, but I was so happy that I got to see the little places and the little spots that they did stuff. And I got to live my little own La La Land moment. So there will probably be times that I'll be like, and during this scene, which I was there for, I touched that, and Ryan Gosling touched that, and Emma Stone touched that, and I've touched your hand before, so you've technically, I guess, by 6 degrees, have touched them as well.
Oh, Jesus. Uh-huh.
Anyway, yeah.
So the opening number starts off, we're basically on a freeway.
Mm-hmm.
Traffic is caught. That's a normal California thing. I haven't been, I'm not lucky like someone. But apparently, that's a normal thing. We hear all these cars, all the different radios and things going on in each car, and then it builds and builds and builds until the first song starts, and the lady just starts singing, gets out of her car. Everybody else decides to join her
Yep.
for a big song and dance number.
And I will say this, Dallas traffic, terrible. Gives me anxiety all the time. LA traffic, I thought I was gonna die every day. It's terrifying. They're kind of like a good luck to everybody else kind of traffic.
Yeah.
So and I do like that the freeway or the highway that the opening sequence is shot on is a very famous. It's kind of like half-built freeway in LA that they use it in tons and tons of movies. And I knew someone that was an extra in Hollywood, and they did an episode of Monk where they did a scene, and they were up on that exact thing.
You just have all the connections.
So many connections. My goodness. But I think that the opening is just so grand and really pulls people in so well. And I just think that it's very, very well done. It really is fantastic. Again, goosebumps.
She does get goosebumps.
Mm-hmm.
I do really like the opening too, but I'll get this out of the way first. I like musicals,
Mm-hmm.
and I think generally, I get a lot of people, friends I know and stuff, will tell me that they don't like musicals.
Yeah.
And that's like such a broad term to just be like, I don't like musicals. And it's like almost certainly you like musicals and you don't realize it.
Yeah.
You're just thinking of, for me in my brain, I kind of split them into like 3 different categories. There's the sort of stage play kind of musical, which is going to be something like Singing in the Rain, Sound of Music, these big productions where people literally like break out and dance song and number in the middle of the day and nobody bats an eye, whatever.
Right.
And then you have something that's like a modern sort of musical, probably not the best term for it, but something like Sing Street, which I really love, where it's a musical, but when there's the musical numbers and they're singing outside of one scene in Sing Street, it's like they're filming a music video, Battle of the Bands, something like that, where it makes sense and it's not just people breaking out into dance and song in the middle of the street.
Right.
And then you have something that's, I would just dub like the Disney musical, but really it's like kids movies where pretty much all of those are a musical, but no, you don't think of them as a musical. You
Right.
could go, any of these people who are like, I don't like musicals, I'll be like, do you like Lion King?
Yeah.
Guess what? Musical.
Musical.
You like Hercules? Guess what? Musical.
Musical.
You fan of Little Mermaid? Under the Sea. Hello.
Yep.
Like they're all singing and
Fantastic.
dancing all throughout all of those.
Yeah.
So-
It's really good though when you do get the big musical numbers that are balanced out with actual dialogue and storyline, so that it's not heavy-handed with the music. So you're getting just the best of both worlds,
Yeah.
music-wise.
Yeah, I think if the song isn't really serving a purpose to the story, that's kind of where you'd lose me a little bit.
Right.
So the opening number in this isn't very specific to like where this story's gonna go or anything, but it's the very beginning, kind of sets the tone for the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
Sort of situation, dance numbers, all that sort of stuff. But it's very colorful,
It's
very
so
bright. I
colorful.
like everything that's going on. It's got tons of things going on, like people
Yeah.
jumping all over cars, hula hooping for some reason.
It's one of those things. The choreography is so well done and so down to a T that you could watch it several different times and hone in on a different thing that's going on, and that's written into the choreography. It's so well done, so intricate.
Yeah, my only question for the opening is how long was that band inside that box truck
That
for?
was a very good
I
question.
feel like I know it's supposed to be. I think it's supposed to be. When is that supposed to be in the beginning? Does it say like spring or winter? Because I feel like we go right into summer as the next season.
I don't remember now. It might have been spring.
Doesn't matter.
Everyone's
all
in
I
short
know-
dresses, though.
All I know is there's a band and literally in the back of a box
Yeah.
truck that they open up and they just start playing. And I'm
Yeah.
thinking, you're stuck on a freeway.
Yeah.
There's definitely no AC in there, probably.
Nope. No one's got any water bottles.
How did they survive?
I don't know, but I think that scene when they do open up the back of that box truck and then they form that little like
Dance
circle.
circle?
I think that's the best part because the song gets a little bit of a heavier backbeat, and everyone gets to have like a little moment.
Yeah.
Probably the best part
Probably.
of that sequence.
Probably.
Yeah, that or the lady that jumps up and we just see her from the back throwing her arms out and towards the end of the song
yeah,
and
yeah.
everybody gets on top of the cars.
I did think about this when we were watching it, that I think the lady who starts, because everybody gets into their car at the end.
Yeah.
The lady who starts it, who's in the pink, the yellow polka dotted sundress thing,
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure she gets into a totally different car at the end
Does
of
she?
end of that.
She can't find hers.
Because I think
she's traveled too far down.
I think she ends up in like near the very front, so kind of very far away from the camera.
Yeah.
Whereas she would have she gets out of her car and walks forward quite a
Right.
bit. She would have had to have been like closer to the camera at the end. But I could just be seeing things wrong. But I was like, there's a woman back there in a yellow dress. Did she just hijack somebody else's car?
It's LA.
Maybe that was the con. Is she just wanted to
Maybe.
be? She wanted to be farther ahead in
Yeah.
the traffic. So she got everybody to sing and dance and swap.
Talk about
cars.
it. Talk about a distraction. I'm
That's
gonna
probably
get
what it
everyone to go into a Broadway musical, and then I'm just gonna steal this
Start
Corolla.
singing and still, yeah.
Yeah.
So here, right after this, we get introduced to our leads.
Mm-hmm.
We see Sebastian first in his convertible, I assume.
It's like an old classic looking convertible, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know cars, but whatever. It very much fits his vibe as a character of liking old jazz and
Yeah.
stuff, and he dresses in
Kind of an
like-
older style.
yeah.
Yeah, it's
But
his
he's
vibe.
listening to he's got a tape deck, and he's trying to listen. He's like rewinding this tape over and over again to try and listen to this jazz song. And then it zooms in, and right ahead of him is Mia in her car, running lines with herself for an
Yeah.
audition. And as traffic starts to move, Sebastian's honking at her,
Yeah.
drives around her, gives her a disapproving head shake,
Yeah.
which is much nicer. Chazelle said this in the commentary, that his character when written, was supposed to be an asshole the entire time. But
Really?
Ryan Gosling, while he does kind of play sort of like a pretentious ass for most of the movie,
He can be off-putting.
He brings a level of charm to it, whereas
Yeah.
in the script he didn't really have that, so he just kind of seemed more off-putting. But this disapproving head shake
He just he looks disappointed.
is so much nicer than what I would have done.
Oh, 1,000,000%. Are you kidding?
I get very aggressive on the road.
The people out here are definitely not that. But what's funny about it too is he makes sure to stop and
Yeah.
makes sure that she sees that he's giving her a disapproving, like a disappointed face.
She flips him off.
And she flips him off. She's a little bit more
That's rude.
aggressive. That was rude.
She's the one not paying attention.
Have you ever flipped someone off, a car off?
Yes. I'm pretty sure you've been in the car when I've done it.
I was probably closing my
I'm
eyes.
pretty sure you're usually afraid that somebody's going to shoot me or
I
something.
am. I've never flipped anyone off, but I am very heavy-handed on the horn. I will horn it out all day long. Nope, didn't like that.
Well, it's too late now.
I don't like that saying. But yeah, it is their little interaction is funny. Her going over her lines, and then obviously the flow of traffic is pushing, so he's got to go. He takes off, and she's like, "Ugh, God, what was that guy's problem?" And then just underneath her breath, she was like, "Oh wait, no, I should probably move."
Yeah. So from here we follow her for the day. Goes to her job where she's on a studio lot. It's never said what studio or anything it is, but I believe it's the WB studio in real life.
I think she does at one point say it's you can catch me at the cafe on the Warner Brothers lot.
Does she say Warner Brothers
I
lot?
think so.
Maybe she does say somewhere.
Yeah.
Whatever. And basically we're just following her for the day. We see that she's a barista at this coffee shop, and then she goes to run to an audition, bumps into a man, spills coffee on her white.
Perfectly white, crisp button-down shirt.
Yeah. And we cut to the audition room. I find this pretty interesting, color palette wise. She's wearing a blue winter jacket,
Yeah, puffer jacket.
and all the walls and the door and everything else is blue.
Yeah.
So the whole room is just blue and blue and blue. And this scene, funny enough, apparently there was always going to be the audition, and it wasn't going to go well. But Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling were apparently trading audition horror stories with each other. And Ryan Gosling just happened to have an audition that basically went this way, that in the middle of it got interrupted by a phone call, or somebody had to take a message or something, and that's what made it into this movie, was that
memory.
audition. Yeah.
It's something important. I mean, it's not very important. It's just kind of a subtle thing too to note that when we are introduced to Mia working as in the coffee shop for the first time, we do get a little scene of from the back of this woman. Obviously, a big Hollywood starlet walks into the coffee shop to go get a coffee, and she goes to get it, and Mia is just speechless, and she's just doe-eyed and awestruck.
I feel like you'd be fired so quickly if you acted that way.
Probably. I mean, I'd probably do the same. I think they're making it seem like she's like Angelina Jolie level, big, and they give the coffee. They say the coffee is on us. And she says, "No, I insist to pay." So she pays and leaves a tip. But it's a really cool moment to see Mia's character kind of be like, "This is why I'm here. This is why I'm working. So I can be around this environment."
Yeah. So after the audition doesn't go well, she leaves. We see a bunch of other redheaded white women and
white
button
button-down
downs. All look the same, obviously.
And hers is just stained brown all over the chest.
Yeah. She goes home, where we learn she lives in a little apartment with 3 other women, all trying to do the same thing, all wanting to be actresses and whatnot. We do see that she's very clearly invested in it. She has, in her room, she's got one wall that's this big Ingrid Bergman poster.
Floor to ceiling.
Yeah, totally floor to
Huge.
ceiling takes up. She's got a bunch of movie posters and stuff around her room.
They're all vintage posters too.
And they're all old, which that goes back. Everybody knows that Damien Chazelle has a love for old Hollywood and stuff. That's the whole thing about Babylon. Whether you like that movie or not, that's what the whole deal was, is like his obsession with classic
Yeah.
golden age Hollywood type stuff. We break into another song here with her roommates,
Someone in the crowd.
someone in the crowd, which will come back to be played multiple times in the background throughout the movie. And basically they're just begging her to go out to this party. She doesn't really want to, and then she ends up getting convinced to. They all have, I like the color palettes in this movie. They're all wearing, like, there's a blue, red, green, yellow dress. They're all bright, vibrant colors. And then we go to a party, and we don't really see the party. We just kind of see, like, clearly it's not her scene.
Yeah, it's not her vibes.
Um,
The vibes aren't it. They made it sound like, if all of the it people would be there that are just trying to brown nose and suck up to other, people, and that was one of the first things I thought too, in seeing how kind and lovable her roommates are, and you can tell she is a little bit of the, not to say that she's the odd one out, because she's still beautiful, but they're all really tall or more tall than she
I feel
is.
like one's about her height, if not shorter.
But
the
the-
blonde one.
maybe
The other
a
two
little bit.
are taller.
But she, like you said, the color blocking was done so well, and it's so vibrant, and it also, I'd like to think the color palette in that apartment matches where she's at personality-wise in the beginning of the movie versus the end, where she is still, like, fresh and bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and everything is eccentric and quirky, and none of the patterns match, and all that. So I really, really love that. It's a fantastic song. What I got a lot from that song as well is a little bit of Great Gatsby-ish vibes in the party sequences, and champagne's flowing, people are jumping in the pool in their tuxedos and their dresses, and I love the pool shots where it's very clearly being shot from the middle of the pool, panning around like a complete 360, and you're getting all of these different people dancing and again jumping in the pool and having their own little moments. It is really interesting, and yeah, that is just really not her scene, but she had a really shitty day, and just getting pumped up by her friends gave a little pep in her step, and why not? So
Yeah, but her day still ends up sucking because when she leaves the party, her car's been towed.
been towed.
And she has to walk all the way home.
Yeah.
But on her walk home,
Yeah.
she hears music being played from a restaurant. She goes inside, and then we cut back to the beginning.
And we're back at the beginning.
This time we get to see Sebastian's day after he disapprovingly shakes his head at her
And gets flipped off.
and gets flipped off. We see he's driving to a club, basically across the street from the club. He gets like a coffee and he just stares at this club.
Yeah.
And then he goes home, and if you're paying attention, his shirt changes from brown to blue.
I would never would have noticed that if you hadn't pointed it out.
According to them, this scene when he gets home was supposed to be later in the movie, and that's why his shirts are changed.
I don't know. I'd like to think that he could have changed in the car. When I was younger and I had a long drive to work, guess what I had? Driving pants. They were pajamas. I would wear my driving pants, I'd get to work, and then I'd put on my nice pants. So maybe he's got driving shirts.
Yeah. So he gets home. His sister's there. He basically lives in like disarray. Everything is in boxes and kind of all over the place.
And he's been there for a while, apparently.
Yeah, we find out that he's past due on a bunch of bills because he doesn't really have a job, because there were shenanigans. No, he got shanghaied is what he says. He got shanghaied out of a deal to
I love that term.
like buy this club, and his sister's like, everybody knew he was shady except for you, and you need to get a job. I know this nice girl. You should call her. And then like my favorite line in the whole movie
yeah, your
is
favorite
like,
line.
does she like jazz? And she's like, I don't know. If she doesn't, then what are we gonna talk
What are we
about?
gonna talk about? I remember you loving that so much because you would be like, well, that's how I feel about movies.
That is how I feel about movies.
Like,
If you didn't like movies, this wouldn't be happening.
She doesn't like movies. What would we possibly talk about?
Exactly. I don't know anything else.
I got nothing.
Yeah, exactly. So from there, we cut again and again. He's back in his brown shirt because
Yeah.
the scene changes. He's just playing piano,
It's
trying
Christmas
to
time.
learn this song.
Oh, right.
And then we cut to he's in a nice suit. He's at this restaurant. J.K. Simmons shows up.
Yep.
J.K. Simmons worked with Damien Chazelle on Whiplash previously. And apparently he was asked during the filming of Whiplash if he would be in this movie
Really?
as like a walk-on role. And he said yes, so he's potentially the first person ever cast for it.
Man, and J.K. Simmons is so good at what he does.
They apparently made a joke about him basically playing the same character.
He's-
It's just years later, and he's given up the music game.
Oh,
and
from Whiplash.
And that's why he doesn't want to hear jazz music, is because he's put that life behind him.
Oh my god, that's hilarious. I wouldn't even thought about that.
That's what they said in the commentary. It's just a little funny.
I'm
thing.
gonna believe that.
Um,
Because he is still kind of a jerk.
yeah, you can believe it if you want to.
I'm gonna.
Yeah, it is pretty funny. So he's there. He's basically, he needs this job. He needs the money, so he's just playing Christmas carols and stuff
Yeah.
like Silent Night and Jingle Bells and whatnot. And then he just gets a wild hair and starts to play a random jazz song, and it's really good. And he stands up and he's like, "Oh shit!" And J.K. Simmons calls him over. "You're fired." And as he's leaving, he bumps into Mia. He basically shoulder checks her and just keeps walking.
Yeah. And it was a conversation that him and J.K. Simmons, the restaurant manager, had, which is, you know, you need to promise me that you are only going to play basically hokey Christmas songs. And he's like, okay, but I can throw like one of my own in there, right? And he's like, absolutely not. And he goes, okay,
Yeah.
maybe a little bit. He's like, absolutely not. Don't even think about going and riffing off on your own outside of family-friendly Christmas songs. And the moment just kind of, he's so convinced that no one in that restaurant could give less of a shit what he's playing. So he just kind of, the moment and the music takes over him, and he goes off onto this beautiful medley that he just melts into like butter. And that's why at the end of the song, his hair is falling over his face, and now he's standing up while he's playing, and he ends it, and everyone in the restaurant is just at a standstill, and I'd like to think in awe and not shocked that it's not Christmas
I
music.
think shocked.
Maybe a little bit of shock.
I would have been down with it, and then the moment he starts getting at the end where he's like,
Yeah.
I would have been like, what the hell?
It reminds me a little bit of like in
Good
back.
sound effects.
It reminds me a little bit of like in Back to the Future. Remember when he starts off playing the guitar at
Johnny
the
Be
end,
Good.
Johnny Be Good, and then when he ends it, and everyone's like, "Well, we were liking it at the beginning, and now we
Yeah.
don't know what you're doing." That's kind of what it reminded me of. But yeah. So J.K. Simmons' character said, "Absolutely not. You're gone. That was your last chance." That he tries to plead. He was like, "You can't fire me. It's Christmas." And he's like, "Yeah, I saw the decorations. Get the fuck out."
Yeah. So from there, we get to see some more auditions that Mia goes on. Just a couple quick cuts of her auditioning and things not really going anywhere. And then she's at a party. She's at another party. And this time she kind of seems like she's maybe alone at the party. And she hears some music being played. She goes over, and it's like this 80s cover band. And lo and behold, surprise to no one, there's Sebastian, dressed up in his best 80s get-up, playing electric keyboard and electric keyboard
Yeah.
guitar. And she suggests that they play Iran.
And he very clearly
He doesn't want to.
He very clearly is not having a great time, and he feels, you can see in his face how embarrassed he is, and the lead singer keeps trying to get him to be like, hey, act a little bit more, like, be a little bit more dramatic, and he's like, okay. But I would also like to say that I have so many favorite scenes, but one of my favorite out of the little montage of all of the auditions that she was going on was the one where she was like, you can't be she's talking to someone and they're reading the script back to her, and she's obviously supposed to be a teacher. She's like, "You can't be acting like that." And then the person with the script goes, "Mrs. So-and-so, you be acting a fool." And she goes, "No, Jamal, you be acting a fool." And it was so seriously done. It was so funny. But anyway, yeah, so it was really funny at the party. Her one of her friends is there, and I think that she's trying to set her up to have a conversation with some random guy.
He's a writer. He's
a writer, yeah.
A screenplay
And
writer.
he's just like this short guy that just loves to...
Didn't you hear his idea? He
Yeah.
wants to do Goldilocks, but from the bear's
But
perspective.
from the bear's perspective, yeah. He just looks obnoxious, and she immediately shuts it down. She's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna go get a drink."
Yeah.
So I don't want to sit here and listen to you listen to yourself.
Then she does a little dance to Iran. And then, if you've ever seen our live show that we do on Fridays, a clip that's used to end the opening credits that we've made is from this scene where Ryan Gosling, Sebastian comes up and confronts her and is like, "I'm a serious musician. You can't ask a serious musician to play Iran."
And he's like, "Yeah,
And
I
she's
remember
like,
you."
"Well, I'm an actress." And he's like, "Oh yeah, have I seen you in anything?" And she's like, "Well, maybe at the coffee shop on the thing." And he's
Yeah.
like, "Oh, so you're a barista."
Yeah. How nice it is of you to talk down for me from so high up there.
Yeah. But the part that we use on our opening for our stream is it ends with him putting glasses on and going, "I guess I'll see you in the movies."
See you in the movies. But it was such a funny little interaction because he does recognize her, and then he goes out of his way in the party to go find her to say, "Hey, I am serious. I am a serious musician," and her being like, "Uh-huh," and him going, "Okay, I remember you, and I might have been a little bit curt
He
or
does
an
say Kurt.
asshole." He's like, "But that doesn't mean that you can treat me this way or whatever." So they have like a very cute little back and forth where they're both trying to, well, I'm serious about what I do. Well,
Yeah.
all right then, whatever. It's almost like when little kid, the kid pulls on your pigtail and or throws a rock at you.
Did you have that happen? Did you get a rock thrown at you?
Probably.
Is that a thing? I
Not
don't
like
think I've ever tried to throw a rock at a girl
Well,
to
not-
get her attention.
not like a river rock, like a pebble or something.
I don't think I've ever thrown any sort of rock at someone.
But it was
Well,
just
not at a girl.
Oh.
Not to be like, "I think you're cute."
I don't like you, but I like you. But yeah, it was a fun little moment where they both just kind of razzed each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then went their separate ways.
Yeah, they go their separate ways until the end of the party when Sebastian's leaving and Mia catches him and says, "Hey, George Michael,
Yeah,
um,
which he very
Get-
begrudgingly turns around to.
get my keys." There's a fun little joke that apparently everybody drives a Prius.
Yeah, everyone in L.A.
He gets her keys. It helps her escape the screenplay guy.
who's still trying to chat her up and probably take her home.
And then they walk to try and find her car.
Right.
Her little clicker horn thing's not working.
Which you very rudely made a comparison and said that was
Oh
me.
yeah, I did say that's how Maggie is. She gets lost in a parking lot. So.
I'm in a constant state of losing my car, my phone, and my glasses.
Yeah.
But I have the argument that I don't have a clicker.
Ooh.
So if I had a clicker, I could find my car all the time.
Yeah, but what about your phone or your glasses?
Those don't have clickers.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
Unfortunately not. Maybe one day.
Yeah. Market that.
Yeah.
People might maybe buy it.
Shark Tank, here I come.
So they're walking up this hill, and they come to like a lamp post and a bench.
Which I walked on. I walked that hill.
Yeah, of course.
That's number one.
Yeah.
We're gonna keep tally.
And it's at night. It's at like sunset, and there's this beautiful shot of the city behind them with the mountains in the background, and the sun is just like low enough that there's a little bit of like an orangish pink, purple
Pink.
looking color.
It's very
And then
beautiful.
it's dark. They said that they filmed this over 2 nights, that scene, just because I guess in California and specifically that area, there's only like a 30-minute window where it's like 10 minutes previously it looked daytime,
Yeah.
and in 5 minutes it's going to be pitch black.
Yeah.
So they had to film that over 2 nights, but it comes up and we get another musical number and the first dance number with the two of them. And I love this one.
Which is the iconic dance scene. It's the scene that's on the posters, the DVD.
What a waste of a lovely night.
What a waste of a lovely night. And she's wearing this perfect yellow dress. She's in heels, and then she changes out into these shoes, which throughout the movie I keep trying to think of what they're called. They're like those classic black and white
Tap shoes.
The tap shoes, but you know, like that classic look of what it is. It's something toe or tongue. I don't remember.
I do not know.
But yeah, so she changes out into these cute black and white tap shoes, and he's got his black and white shoes, and they just have this fantastic dance number that their chemistry is off the charts. They work so well together. I mean, I'm sure that they practiced that number a gajillion times. I practiced it myself alone many times myself, not as good. But the choreography, again, just impeccable. It's so detailed down to the littlest teeny tiny things. Such a great scene.
Yeah, I really like the dance number there. And basically they're singing about, like, it's such a shame I'm not interested in you because this would be a lovely night otherwise.
Yeah, I don't like you.
Yeah.
You're not that good looking. You're not that charming. Again, it's like that pull and back and forth of.
I don't remember exactly what she says, but it's something like, I wouldn't even something call, and he's like, but you would call?
Oh yeah, she was like, you think you're not interested in me, or you think this isn't going well? How about
I think that'll be my call.
I think that'll be my call. And he goes, but you'll call.
Yeah.
So it's very fun, flirty, and it's I can't watch it and not smile. It's just so charming. And yeah, if I was a teenager and I watched this, I would have swooned and just been like, well, if a boy doesn't want to sing to me and, blah, 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 then whatever.
If he doesn't want to sing and dance with me,
Yeah. Don't need him.
good luck.
Yeah.
Good luck finding that.
Yeah.
From there, she does use her clicker, finds the car. It just happened to be right there in front of them the whole time.
She gets a call.
She gets a call.
It's Greg.
It's Greg. Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A phone call kind of ruins a little bit of their moment, and it's her boyfriend. And they pack up their stuff, and Sebastian, you can tell he heard as soon as she said, "Oh, Greg," he was like, "All right, well, let's pack this up." He grabs her purse, and helps walk her to her car.
And then he walks all the way down the hill back to the house because his car was parked right out front.
All along. She said, "Do you want me to drive you to your car?" And he goes, "Oh no, it's right here." And she's like, "Okay, well, bye." She takes off, and then he acts like he's starting to walk a certain direction, and then he goes all the way back down the hill. So he went very, very out of his way to make sure that she found her car and got there safely, which is very cute.
Yeah, we see she's having a better day the next morning. She kind of like peppy step as she's walking into work. While she's there, Sebastian shows up because he knew where to find her.
Yep.
He says he just ran past the guard to get onto the lot. She takes her break, points out that straight across from this cafe was a window from Casablanca where Ingrid Bergman and Humphrey Bogarts looked out. So going back to her obsession with the old Hollywood starlet. She also mentions that she writes her own plays, or that she did write her own plays when she was younger, a little bit of foreshadowing for what's to come later. And as they're walking, they're just walking along this lot. There's a lot of things being shot and filmed and whatever. We do see in the background these two people in a red dress and a blue suit who were like body doubles for Emma and Ryan.
That was pretty funny. I loved I love them walking around the back lot again.
Because you've been there.
Tooting my own horn because I got to walk around the back lot at Universal. And it is true. When you're walking around back there, I walked through Westworld and a couple, and then you go through a neighborhood, and we actually had to stop because they were filming something in one of the, it was where they filmed, it's a big suburban neighborhood, and they filmed Desperate Housewives there, like way back in the day, and they were filming something else new in front of one of those things, and we had to stop and be quiet. So I like that they're walking around, and all of a sudden they have to stop and be quiet because there's production, and
We're rolling.
we're rolling. And I love that Sebastian seems slightly like unbothered by, like, he doesn't have stars in his eyes at like where he is and what's happening. He's just like, all right, well, you know, people are
Yeah.
working. Ooh, we'll be quiet.
This is where he finds out that she doesn't like jazz.
Yes.
And he goes, what are you doing right now? And she's like, nothing.
Yeah.
So he takes her to a jazz club called the Lighthouse to listen to some jazz, and very almost pretentiously, or I mean, I guess you could call it pretentious, explain to her jazz.
Yeah.
Mansplain
And why,
it, I guess.
I guess kind of mansplain it, but I love this scene so much because of how he shows a level of vulnerability to this person that's new to him in his life, that he doesn't really know all that well. And he's showing just his love and passion for, you know, this aspect of his life. And I love that scene and the way he explains it. And he's just like, you know, explaining jazz and music. And he says, it's so exciting. And I love when he says that, because I feel like everybody should have, if they don't, they should have something in their life that they feel that, like, passionately about, like, just unapologetically passionate. And I love him taking the time to bring her out, to show her, you know, this isn't what you grew up on. You know, you grew up on elevator jazz music. This is the real stuff. This is what you need to understand. And so I love that scene. And you can tell that she is open-minded. She came right out and said, I'm not a fan of this. I don't like it, but I will take your word for it. And I will at least give it a try.
Yeah.
And yeah, she says at one point later on in the movie, people like people that are passionate about something. And it really does draw you in. If I have a friend and they are so passionate that this book is so amazing and life-changing, I will read it after the 7 books I haven't read yet.
No, I'm just wondering. You say that, and how many times have I said One Piece? Anyway.
I'm working on it.
That's neither here nor there.
I appreciate that you are passionate about One Piece.
Uh-huh. That's neither
That's
here,
the point. That's
here
the
nor
point.
there.
Anyway.
So what's the next scene? What's next?
So they, the next thing that they're talking about is that there's a movie that she hasn't seen, and he's saying, "Oh, well, it's
Oh yeah, she gets the call back for
Right.
the audition.
for an audition."
And he says, "You described it to me as like the OC meets something."
Yeah.
And she's like, I might have been a little harsh on it. It's more like Rebel Without a Cause.
Rebel Without a
And
Cause.
he says a line from the movie and then goes, "You've never seen
it went right over her head. She has no idea what he's talking
So
about.
he does invite her to go see a showing of Rebel Without a Cause starring James Dean
Yeah.
at the Rialto. I forget exactly what the name of the theater is.
I don't remember what the theater's name is, but it's still cute because they still are kind of on their whole, like, I don't like you, but I like you thing. So he kind of stammers his words and saying, like, well, I might go, well, do you want to go? I'll take you to see it, which is kind
Does
of.
that sound familiar?
It sounds a little familiar. I like Joaquin Phoenix. Do you like Joaquin Phoenix? It's playing at this theater. If you go, I'll go. I'll buy the tickets. Okay.
What is that?
Oh, that's a true story. That's a real life
Oh yeah.
It was really.
What's that a true story about?
It's a story. It came out a couple. It's a movie that it came out a couple years ago. That's all I got. I don't have it. I don't know
What?
where I was going with that.
What she was mimicking there is essentially how our first
Yeah,
date.
that was how our
went.
first date went. Really? Well, I want to go see. Do you want to go see the movie? All right, we'll just.
I don't remember
go.
how we got talking about Joaquin Phoenix, but she's like, I like Joaquin Phoenix.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, he's got a new movie coming out called Don't
Yeah.
Worry, He Won't Get Far on Foot.
And I was like, I saw a preview for that. I heard about it. I want to see
And
that.
then I was like, I just happen to be going to see it. If you want to go.
Well, let's just go together.
That's how it works.
So, anyways, that's how it works. You and Sebastian. That's basically what it was. It was that, well, I'll take you to see this, but for research and no other
Research,
purposes.
yeah.
This is for research
Yeah.
for her audition. So yeah, it's them getting. And I'm pretty sure there's a part where she's like,
She goes home. And Greg shows up because they're supposed to go out for dinner with his brother,
which she completely forgot
which
about.
she forgot about. And
What's interesting too is that she's smiling in her bedroom to herself. She's smiling, and then when Greg comes in, her smile, like the sparkle in her face, in her eyes, dies, like immediately. And then he reminds her about the dinner, and she's just like, "Oh, yeah."
Yeah.
Mm.
So she goes out to dinner. Greg's brother's really boring. Your standard, typical guy in a suit with a fancy job or whatever as movies portray it.
And insufferable.
Yeah. And then she starts to hear some music, which she thinks is coming from a speaker, but then
Yeah.
it plays louder, and you realize it's not actually in the scene. She's
Yeah.
hearing it herself, and
Yeah,
it's
it's-
reminding her of Sebastian. So she says, "I'm sorry, I gotta go." Just deuces out of there.
What's funny about this scene too is that they are suddenly in this very fancy restaurant. Like it's very formal. They're wearing formal outfits, and it's hard to hear it at first, but we're kind of panning in, and as we're honing in on her starting to kind of fade out, you can hear the people at the table talking about movies, and the way that they're talking.
Are they?
Yeah.
Oh.
And they're going, ugh, the movies are just terrible lately. Like every time you go in there, it's gross. There's too many
They're talking about it being
people.
dirty. Yeah.
It's dirty. It's not fun. Like, wouldn't you rather like go somewhere else or something like that? And that's when she starts to internally hear the reminder of Sebastian, who would love to go to like some grimy
Who is
theater.
at a theater
Who is
waiting
at a
for
theater
her.
that isn't a fancy restaurant where you have to be formally dressed and whatever. And she just realizes like, this is not it for me. I can't relate to these people. It reminds me a lot of the scene in Titanic when Rose is at that dinner table when she realizes, I don't want this life. I don't like the fancy things. I want to go and have fun and do and all of that. And so yeah, she just says, peace.
Peace.
I'm out.
She shows up at the movie theater. Rebel Without a Cause is already playing. She does the most inconsiderate thing I could
It
ever
is actually
imagine.
very inconsiderate.
And instead of just like looking down the rows
Yeah.
where you would be able to, it's not like this place is packed.
And it's small.
You could very clearly look down a row and be like, oh, there he is. Instead, she walks up to the front of the crowd, right in front of the screen, stands up on stage, looking out for him.
Yeah.
I would have been angry.
Get down.
Yeah. So they go and sit down. They start watching Rebel Without a Cause. They have a cute little hand touchy moment.
Yeah.
And then they're about to kiss, and the film breaks.
Yeah. Just comes to a complete halt. And one of my notes on this was I absolutely loved the way that, because he obviously was feeling disappointed that she didn't show up on time, and he's probably thinking, well, I'm just going to go in here. I already got the tickets. I'm just going to watch the movie by myself. So he looks, downtrodden and, disappointed. And as soon as he sees that Mia's there, the way that his face lights up is so cute and charming. And again, very like, I don't know, like very innocently adorable. And they spend pretty much the majority of the movie just kind of smiling before they both make little side eyes at each other's hands and slowly inch them together before they finally touch and hold. And it's so cute.
Yeah.
So cute.
Yeah.
I love it.
Well, before they can kiss, they got to leave the theater because the film reel's busted.
Yeah.
And they decide, well, we're watching Rebel Without a Cause. We do see a scene from Rebel Without a Cause,
Yes.
which is at the Griffith Observatory.
Yeah.
So they decide, let's go to the Griffith Observatory.
Which, by the way, you can't do at night when there's no one else there.
Yes.
You'll get arrested.
So, funnily, the commentary pointed out that you can only film there on Mondays, and you're not allowed to touch anything.
Right.
Which is interesting in that they ended up, because they used the planetarium, they had to build their own planetarium in order to do wiring and stuff for these scenes.
I was surprised about that.
But I was curious just to see. I didn't like delve too hard into it, but I looked up the Griffith Observatory, and it's used in loads of movies
Lots of
for
stuff.
things.
And TV, they use it as B-reel in like the Kardashians and all kinds of stuff.
But it was made, although there were movies that had filmed there before Rebel Without a Cause. Rebel Without a Cause goes there twice throughout its course
I've
of its
never
movie.
seen Rebel Without a Cause.
Neither have I. So there's a bust of James Dean at the observatory because they sort of internationally popularized the observatory. So even though tons of places go to it and use it, it's always going to be pretty much linked to Rebel Without a Cause. So the observatory is interesting. Maggie did point out that basically they're there alone. They like broke in or something, and they're just kind of walking around it. We get a nice little musical number, and then it kind of goes to a scene that I feel pretty indifferent about. And basically they're into the planetarium. They turn it on because they know how to work that thing to show the stars on the ceiling, and then they just kind of float off. It's like a dream sequence type thing where they're dancing with each other among the stars and all that. And it feels too, for me, it's a little too, it's too dreamy, hopeful, whatever you want to call it. It's just it's a little too much for me at that point. Even if it's like supposed to be representative of like two people newly in love or something, it's just a little too hokey for me, I guess is what I'd say.
Disagree.
Yeah. We'll disagree with it.
I would also like to state that
You've been there.
I've been there, and I touched everything I could. So there's a good chance that I touched something that Ryan Gosling touched or Emma Stone touched. So I got famous people DNA on my hands.
Uh-huh. I don't think that's how that works.
I don't care. Yeah, I had fun in the observatory. I understand a little bit where you're coming from, but to me, I find that scene to be not silly. I find it to be a little bit more whimsical. I think it's, and while we were watching it, I started to say this, and you were like, "Bup, bup, bup, write it down." Just
Yeah.
stop.
I was telling her during it, anytime she wanted to say something, I was like, "No, write it down. Save it for the recording."
I think I find it, at least to me in my head, I think it's very representative of how you feel when you first start out in a relationship or when you first meet someone and there's a little spark there where
The honeymoon phase.
the honeymoon, everything is new, everything is exciting, you have butterflies, and I mean, quite literally with them, like you're on cloud 9 and you're feeling, out of this world. So I felt like it was very representational of like how someone who's falling in love might feel. And I absolutely love the dance, when they're not floating, when they're actually doing like the solid dance sequence. I love that. I've seen so
When
many
they're silhouettes.
the silhouettes.
Yeah.
I've seen so many YouTube videos and TikToks where people did that for their wedding dance or, something similar, and I loved it. It works for me. It doesn't take anything away from it for me. Also,
I'm not saying it takes anything away from it.
there was a bug in my drink.
I'm pretty indifferent to it. Well, I'm glad you let everybody know that.
I got it out, don't worry. I spooned it out.
Wow. Okay then.
But that's why I went. Anyway.
Okay. So where do they go after the Griffith Observatory?
So after the
Is this where it cuts to winter?
summertime. Now it's summertime because
Okay.
we were in winter.
Oh yeah,
before.
so now they're in like a full relation. See, this is what I like better. This is if it was me, like if I had any say, I would have probably cut out the planetarium dance thing because I think the summertime thing represents the same thing. It's a montage
Yeah.
of them going places, doing things, having being happy, having like successes in their
Yeah.
life, which is representative of this new relationship and all these good
Right.
things building and building and building. I just don't feel like you need the observatory part.
The summertime montage.
Or at
is-
least not the dance.
It's so fun and colorful, and you're getting to see them have these, those fun, silly moments. We're seeing a version of her that we didn't see when she was like at dinner with Greg, or any sort of emotion that we got when she was with Greg. Now she's running, she's playful, she's dancing by herself, she's it's just they're just having like the time of their life together, going on these little adventures and little excursions and being silly. They've stopped by that restaurant that he's staring at the beginning, and they kind of the Sambas Tapas place, and they kind of like they're walking past it and they stop and they just look at each other and they just like mentally decide that she's gonna go and try to attempt to hold the doors closed so no one can come out
he
and
can
catch
rip
them.
off the
So
Sambas
he can
Tapas sign.
rip the sign off, and then they just both run away like silly little kids.
We
It's
also
so
get a part.
refreshing.
He's playing piano at the lighthouse, and Damien Chazelle mentions he's used this shot 3. This would be the 3rd time where he calls it a call and response, where he films one thing happening, then turns the camera to get a response, then turns it back. And he used it previously in Whiplash and a movie called Guy and Madeline on a Park Bench. And this was the 3rd time where he plays a number on the piano, we cut to her doing a dance. Then back
Right.
to him on the piano, then her dancing.
I love that. I love that you're seeing both of them just being free and being themselves, and you're also seeing. I love the scene when she is dancing to him, playing jazz music, because we're going from her saying, "I don't like this," and the way that she says that is like, "And you're not going to convince me to like it," to she's just jamming out. And she's doing it by herself. So that means that she's got all the confidence. She doesn't have a care about it. She's just going to dance whatever feels right.
Have I coerced you into liking something that you didn't like before?
I'm working on One Piece. I'm sure there's something that I like that I didn't care for quite before.
Okay.
I played some video games.
You have played some video games, but not necessarily because of me.
Well.
So anyway, in the same moment, we get introduced to the first time to Keith, played by John Legend, in his
Mr. Chrissy Teigen.
in his first like full film role, and he plays basically an old friend of Sebastian's, who has invited him to play keyboard in his band.
Yeah.
And in the moment, Sebastian turns him down.
Right.
We also, somewhere in between this, get the first conversation that Seb's dream is to buy this place, turn it into a club, and name it Chicken on a Stick
Chicken on a stick.
because an old jazz musician's nickname was
Bird.
was Bird because he liked chicken,
Right.
and then with drums and other things, Chicken on a Stick. Mia thinks that it's a terrible name.
Awful name.
She's wrong.
We're quite fond of it.
But he continuously tells her it has to be Chicken on a Stick.
No negotiation. And she draws up a cute little, logo for the
Oh yeah, that says Sebs,
that
and
says Sebs.
it's a music note for an apostrophe.
Yeah. And he's like, wow, that's amazing. And she's like, yeah, I think this would be perfect. Please don't do chicken on a stick. Whatever you do, just anything but that.
And our logo, which is very amateurishly put together by me, is in the style of
Yeah.
when you go into, I forget, I think it's into the lighthouse. Maybe there's basically there's a neon sign.
Yeah.
I don't think it's exactly. It might be the one that says Sebs when you finally see it, but it is a circle with the wording in it,
Right.
and it's underlined and stuff. But obviously very heavily influenced.
I love that they put John Legend in this. He really nails the role. And obviously you have to think about how excited he was to have been approached not only for a movie, but for a movie that's pretty much centered around jazz and love. Like that's
Right up his alley.
He must have been like, that is absolutely perfect for me. So yeah, he does a great job in that role. I love John Legend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So at one point, while they're kind of going through all this, Seb does overhear Mia having a phone conversation with her mother, where she very loudly and almost inconsiderately talks about him not having a job and that he'll find something steady and he's doing gigs and blah, blah, blah. And that very clearly pushes him to be like, okay, she wants me to have like a normal job, so I'm going to go see Keith about playing keyboard in his band.
Yeah, you can hear her on the phone saying, I don't know, maybe he's got savings, but, everything's going to be okay. It wasn't, I don't think that she was purposely trying to put him down to her mom, but I think her mom was probably like, oh, so you're with the unemployed piano player or something like that. And it was kind of one of those things that it probably hurt his feelings, but on the other hand, it also lit a fire for him to think, well, I want her mom to think, wow, that she's with the successful guy, and I want to be able to provide for her. So yeah, I think that's what really pushed him over the edge to say, you know what, I thought this was a terrible idea at first, but if it's going to pay the bills, let's go for it.
Yeah.
I'm more than capable to do it.
Yeah, so he starts to play with them, and it's very much not traditional jazz. It's got like heavier beats and stuff. It's a weird
electro,
like R&B jazz sort of hybrid kind of thing, which it's pretty catchy. I mean, in John Legend, there's a little scene where John Legend there was some improvisation to it. But he gives this little speech about, like, in order for, like, yeah, you love jazz, I love jazz, but, like, you play at the small club to 90-year-old people, where are all the young people? Like, jazz is never going to move forward if you don't try something new.
Yeah.
Like, you need to revolutionize. You can't just be a traditionalist.
Right.
If you want jazz to survive or be like find a new following and stuff like that, and that's his whole thing.
He wants modernized jazz.
Yeah.
It is catchy.
Yeah. So he decides to basically sign on for it. He signs on the dotted line to become a permanent member of the band, to write up an album with them, tour, all that jazz.
Da 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 da. I see what you did there.
Yeah. Unintentionally, but, it is what it is. So he starts to have this career. The group makes it pretty big. Mia started to write her own one-woman show. She's basically sold everything she has in order to put this show on.
Yeah.
She does at one point go to a concert.
And this is where we get the song "Feels So Good Tonight."
Is that what the name of the song is?
Mhm.
Huh.
Feels so good tonight.
I didn't know that was what the name of the song was.
Yep.
Anyway, Mia's watching in the crowd,
Mm-hmm.
and she sees Sebastian kind of start playing, and then realizes, like, this isn't what he wants. Like, this
Yeah.
isn't his dream. Yes, he's going along with it, and he's making money and whatever, but it's like, this definitely is not what he wanted. And you can read it on her face. It's all just, like, face acting of her
Mm-hmm.
watching him and being like, this is not what you want at all.
That's exactly what I thought, and that I wrote down was that while we're watching Mia in the crowd realizing that the music isn't what she learned to love from Sebastian. So he taught her the little things to love about jazz. He brought her onto it, and that's why she loves it so much. And now she's watching him go back on all of those things, performing a song that is so much more commercial and something that's really going against his passion that started this whole thing. And it's sad because you can see he's obviously, while he's performing, he's obviously, smiling for the crowd. He's not going to look miserable, but there's almost some sort of blankness behind his expression. It's like forcing a smile. You're like, yeah.
I don't think that's necessarily true. I think
so.
he's enjoying having success at it. But it is, as she points out, basically derailment of what his actual dreams are.
There is a point while she's in the crowd that he goes off on his own little piano riff that she gets completely pushed back by a group of screaming women and girls. And she's kind of like realizing, oh, this is like a heartthrob kind of like they're like fangirling over him. So maybe that's also him feeling that bit of success that he hasn't had before.
To have groupies?
I guess. It's the opposite of getting kicked out for playing not Christmas music at a family restaurant.
That's true.
So that was a scene where you could really see on her face that he's kind of taking a fork in the road from what he said his original idea was.
Yeah. Yeah, and we cut to, at this point, we've switched from summer, now it's fall.
Mm-hmm.
And Mia's rented out a theater to put on her one-woman show, Leaving Boulder, I believe is what it's called. She's inviting everybody whose email she can think of.
Yep.
And she's excited to put it on. And one night she comes home and she's surprised by Sebastian being there.
Mm-hmm.
He's cooked this whole dinner for her. He's in town just until the morning before they leave again.
Lit candles and...
Yep. He's lit candles, made a bunch of stuff. And they sit down to eat. And then we get probably the longest static scene in the entire movie. And it's a back and forth of close-ups of her and him back and forth as they're eating dinner at this table. And what starts off generally positive quickly turns because he says, okay, well, we got to leave in the morning. We're going to Boise, Idaho. You can come with me. You should come with me. And she's like, well, why would I go? He's like, well, why not? Can't you just, practice your play anywhere? And she's like, well, no, I've given up everything I have for this. So no, I need to be here. And it kind of sparks into this argument.
Which is funny because it seemed like it started off as a joke. He's like, well, why don't you come with me to Boise?
Yeah.
And she's like, haha, yeah. It's always been on my list of places to see. And then she starts to move the subject onto something else. And he's like, no, wait, why can't you?
Yeah.
And it goes from lighthearted and haha, you know why, to, oh, you're seriously.
Well, because she ends up asking so you're definitely in this for the long haul. And he's
Yeah.
like, well, what do you mean? And she's like, well, what's the plan? It's like, what happens after touring? It's like, well, after we tour, we'll make a new record, and then we'll tour for that record, and then we'll make another one. And she's like, oh, so you're really into this? And he's like, well, what do you mean? That's what you wanted for me.
Yeah.
And she's like, what do you mean I wanted for you? And he's like, you wanted me to settle down, to have a job, to have something. That's this. Like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
And she's like, I didn't want you to give up on your dreams. And he's like, well, I don't know. He's definitely at a loss of understanding as to, like, I heard you literally talk about how I don't have anything.
Yeah.
And that I need to have something. And, like, now that I do, all of a sudden you're not happy with me. And she points out, well, do you even like the music? He's like, well, what's it matter?
Yeah.
Like, it's a job. I'm doing a job. What does it matter? And obviously it matters a lot to her. And he's like, I've got, people like it. And she says, when have you ever cared what people like? And then he snaps at her and says, you're the actress. What are you talking about?
Yeah. And
of course you want people to like you.
That stung. Like, that hit her, very harshly. I feel like in this scene at the dinner table, they're both slowly realizing that something isn't the way that it was before. Like, something has shifted a little bit. But the set, and he does lash out. I mean, maybe they both lash out in a certain way, and they say things that they don't mean, which, if you've been in a relationship for a long time, that's obviously something that can happen. But it's so sad because their relationship is suddenly feeling unsteady, but it's because both of them want the other to be successful and doing what they love. And, she just wants to make sure that what he's doing is happy and he's not doing it for the wrong reasons, but he's wanting to do this to take care of her. And, maybe a part of him thinks maybe if her acting stuff doesn't go great, she can lean on him or something. And yeah, it's this weird, it's this sad fight between two people that in the end they love each other, so they're wanting each other to be okay. And that's why it can be so upsetting to see someone that you care about isn't as passionate about what they were before, or not pursuing things that would be the best for them, or something like that. It's a very, very real type of relationship conversation to have, and I feel like a lot of people go through that, and it's hard, and you're trying to get on the same page with each other.
Yeah. So from there, we kind of go back and forth for this for a little while until the fire alarm goes off and the thing he was cooking is burning.
Yeah.
She kind of storms out and he's just kind of left like, what the hell? The next shot is her play is going off that night. She's getting ready. He's supposed to be there.
He promised he'd be there.
He's leaving their, like, the band practice session.
Studio.
And as he's leaving, Keith comes up to him and says, hey, we got that photo shoot tonight. He's like, what? I thought it was next week. He's like, no, it's tonight. Is that an issue? And he doesn't speak up. He just goes along with it. So he's sitting at the photo shoot while Mia's play is going on.
Yeah.
And he's obviously miserable during the photo shoot. This is kind of where his point of realization of, like, I am doing something I don't want to do kind of settles in.
Yeah.
And he leaves the photo shoot, but it's too late. The play's already over. It's already revealed that after the lights come on in the house, after she's done, only maybe like 10 people had showed up, which were like her 3 roommates and then a bunch of just kind of random people. It's just
like a scattered, empty theater.
Yeah.
And you can just read it on her face that she's grateful, but she is absolutely heartbroken.
Yeah.
Absolutely heartbroken. And I think that we both agree that, and I'm sure the character did in retrospect, that when that guy said, "Is that a problem? You needing to leave?" He absolutely should have said no. Or, I mean, he should have
He
said
should have
yes.
said yes.
He should have said, "I'm going because I know how important this is to her. I know how important this is to Mia. And, you know, we had a fight and it didn't go great and we're trying to support each other." He absolutely should have told him, this isn't as important. She's poured her heart and soul into this. And money.
Yeah, and I don't really understand why he didn't say no, other than if maybe he felt like he couldn't say no.
Also, he should have called her.
Yeah, he should have done something. Yeah.
Send someone.
Anyway, he gets there. It's too late. The theater's closed. He's like trying to bang on the door and stuff. Mia comes out and he's like, I'm so sorry I missed it. And she's in tears and just says, look, I'm done. I didn't even make enough to pay the theater back.
Yeah.
I'm going home. And he's like, well, this is home. And she's like, no, I'm going back home to my parents.
Yeah.
I give up. I can't keep doing this.
He realizes during the photo shoot the gravity, I think, of what he did while it was too late, that missing her play, what that would do. And I feel like the scene of them outside, she's loading, you know, her props or whatever that was into her car to leave. I feel like you can see on both of their faces that this was kind of a big breaking point. That maybe had he been there, it could have ended with, at least, even if nobody really showed up, if at least he could have ended the show by giving her flowers and a hug and a kiss and saying, hey, it doesn't matter, I think you did great. And that probably would have meant the world to her.
Yeah.
And he didn't.
Yeah.
And so she just broken, and yeah, that's time to take a break.
Yeah, and then at that point, we kind of get back with Sebastian. He's laying in his bed. He gets a phone call, and he tells the person, you got the wrong number. She's not with me anymore.
Yeah.
I probably won't talk to her, but the person's like, I'm just trying to reach her because we want her to come in and do an audition for this thing. Mm-hmm. And he realizes that's a big deal, so he drives all the way out to Boulder City, mm-hmm. Nevada, to go get her. Mm-hmm. And she's sitting at a dinner table with her father. There's a horn honking. She gets up and looks, and it's him outside just holding his horn, which is how he would always tell her that he was there.
Because that's how they first met.
And he that is true. I don't know if the characters realize that.
I don't know if they know that either.
But she's like, how did you... He's like, you got this audition. She says she's not going. He goes, I'm going to be here at 8 a.m. to drive you there, so you better be ready. And then she's like, how did you even find me? And he goes, the house in front of the school. So he remembered things that she had told him about growing up. And the next morning he's there. It's like 8:05. He's not right on 8 o'clock, but she's not out there yet. Mm-hmm. So he's literally driving off as she walks up. Yeah. And she's like, I got coffee. He's like, well, okay, get in then.
This scene, this part of the movie, that's like my longest thing that I wrote about, just because of how much I love this scene and how impactful and powerful I thought that it was. I love him going to go tell her that she got an audition. Even as bad as he feels, he still loves her and he still wants her to succeed. Even he realizes, yeah, I fucked up, but I got this call. You probably don't want to hear from me. You probably don't want to see my face, but it's important and you got to go do it. And he scared me. Swear to God. And he I thought there was a bug on me. Okay. She
scares easily.
I do scare easily. I love this because it's one of the best emotional scenes in the movie to me, because as soon as he tells her that she's got someone interested in her, she immediately says no. She didn't even hesitate. She's like, nope, I'm not going to do that.
What?
Yeah, he gets mad. She says, no, I'm not going to do that. I just had a failed I've just had my heart broken.
She says she tried for 6 years.
She's tried, and she's tired, and she's done of being disappointed and rejected, and she's not good enough. And he says, yes, you are. And she's like, no, I'm not. And he goes, and it's so great the way that his character is here, because he's not taking no for an answer. He's like, I'm going to support you whether you want me to or not. So I believe in you. You're great. If you don't believe in yourself, that's why I'm here. So basically, you can tell me to fuck off all you want, but I'm going to be here at 8 o'clock in the morning. I will take you to that audition myself. And that's just one of those things that, like, we should all be so lucky, is to have someone in our life that when you're feeling so down and so lost or sad or not confident, to have someone be like, what? I'm gonna be here. And yeah, I love that scene so much, and it makes me cry every single time I see it when she says, I'm not good enough. I thought that I was, and I'm not, because find me one person in this world that hasn't felt that way about themselves at some point in life. Yes, you. Shut up. He just raised his hand. Shut up. But everyone has felt that way in their life, and it takes a lot to pick yourself back up by the bootstraps and get back on the horse, whether you're in college or you're a grown-ass adult and you got a family and kids. It doesn't matter. Everyone's been through that. Everyone knows that heartache, and there's something about that scene where she wells up and cries that just gets me every time. So yeah, I love that scene, and I love that he sticks to his word. He's there exactly at 8 o'clock, and he thinks she's blowing him off, and she's like, well, damn, calm down. I was just getting you some coffee. Jeez.
So he takes her to the audition.
Not only does he take her,
he sits there and waits.
He stays there.
It's not really even an audition. I mean, it kind of is, but it almost seems like she's already got it from the way that the people are talking.
Yeah.
But the one woman who went to her play and saw it was like, I'm so glad we found you.
Yeah.
And the director is like, look, there's no script. We're going to shoot in Paris. We're going to build the story around the actress. So there'll be 3 months of prep, 4-month shoot, and then, we go from there. So if you're cool with that, just tell us the story. And this is where she sings the Dreams song. I don't know exactly what it's called. Here's to the ones who dream.
Yeah, here's to the ones who dream. And by the way, the whole time that they're telling her, like, this plan of theirs, she's just in shock, because this is the first time that she's been to an audition.
That she's been treated like a human, basically.
Where she's been treated like a human. Every other time she's treated like a piece of trash.
Yeah.
Or she's not even there, or they can't even see her. And here, the expressions on their faces, like, they look... The other auditions she went to, these people had just, like, I would rather die than be here right now faces. And here they're happy to see her, and they shake her hand, and, why don't you tell us a story?
This is also
tell us something.
One of the handful of times in the movie where she is actually singing, and it's not a recording from a studio, like from booth. Yeah. It was recorded on set. Of her singing. There's this song and a few other songs that it happens in. And it's just a big emotional moment that just basically is focusing on her and her face while she sings this song. And then she leaves. And then they're outside of the Griffith Observatorium again, talking about, well, what's the plan? She's like, I don't even know if I have it yet. He's like, of course you do. But where do we stand? And they're like, I mean, nowhere, kinda.
Yeah, he says, well, when you get this part, and she's...
when you get this part, you're going to Paris.
And she says, if. And he goes, no, when.
When.
You are going to go to Paris. And I'm going to stay here.
And work on his things.
Work on things. And it's so sweet, because he's still so comforting and so believing in her that he does his best to not let her doubt herself. Like, when she's in his presence, you're not self-conscious. I believe in you enough for the both of us, and that's it. And I also really, really love that they did do that as a live singing audition, because it shows what a talented singer she is.
Yeah.
They don't do that in movies a lot.
No, they do not. We also get, at this point, once it cuts from this scene, we see it fades from the Griffith Observatorium into like a palm tree that is then shown to be a backdrop
Right.
that's getting pulled away, and it now says, is it, it's not winter, is it summer again?
It might be summer again.
It might be summer, springtime again, but it says 5 years later.
Yeah.
And
And you're just like, oh.
We're seeing Mia walk onto the back lot into the coffee shop she used to work at. Now the people working there are looking at her like, oh my god, you're a big star.
Just as in the same scene was.
Just like she did. She gets the coffee, then she leaves.
They say it's on us, and she
Oh,
says,
she says
no,
no,
I
and
insist.
yeah.
And that's why I love that comparison scene, because that was what she looked so doe-eyed at, and now that's her. And she remembered that that's what that lady did, and she does
Right.
it.
Yeah, basically now you just know that like she's made it,
Yep.
more or less.
Everybody in the coffee shop staring at her, so she's the big time.
Yep.
She's big time.
Yeah, and she goes home.
Get away, cat.
The cat was trying to climb the movie shelves.
Don't do that.
She drives home, which this shot confuses me because it looks like what she's pulling into is like a hotel or something, or like
I thought that too.
like a castle.
Yeah.
And then she's just walking into like a home.
It's just like a Santa
So
Barbara house.
I can't tell if like maybe it's elevated on like a ledge or something to make, and it looks bigger, or if she just lives in an actual like castle in the middle of California or something.
I think they're all pretty elevated. Again, from what I saw while I was there.
Anyway, she goes in. You find out that she's married now, and she has a kid.
Spoiler alert, spoiler alert. Well, shocker, it's not Sebastian that she's married
not to Sebastian.
It's a different man.
And they're planning on going out for the night, and while they're going out, they're supposed to be going to meet some friends for like a dinner, this fancy dinner. They get all nice dressed up and stuff, and they're driving down the highway, and the traffic's kind of stuck and whatever, and she just goes, you know, what if we just pull off here and get something to eat? And he's like, sure. So they pull off, they park, they go out and get something to eat, and as they're about to get back into their car, he hears some music from down the road and says, hey, why don't we stop in there?
Yeah. Here's some live music playing.
Now, we had seen previously, or maybe do we cut back to this? They go in, and when they go in, we see her face in shock, and when it shows what she's looking at, it's a neon sign that says Seb's. And
Before you go into that, I don't know if this was like an actual design choice or not, but I did like to make the note that, remember when I said when we first start the movie and we're seeing her in her apartment when she's younger, and it's colorful and it's eccentric and it kind of feels like her personality. When we see her in this house with her husband and her kid, the colors are neutral. All the furniture is very traditional. Everything is very matchy-matchy. And you're seeing kind of that contrast between her being a little bit younger and free-spirited, and now she's older, mature. She's got a kid, and her decor, I think, reflects that as well. So you're seeing her personality be a little bit different. I think that's interesting.
yeah. We did see at some point also after this time skip that Sebastian has started his own club. Mm-hmm. He basically gave up on buying the one that he wanted, but he just gets one anyway.
Yeah.
We see that he's, you know, it seems to be doing well. He's like tuning a piano or something, and the guy working for him's like, hey, we're doing all right. And he's like, all right is perfect. Like, I don't need to be doing crazy.
Couldn't ask for anything more.
As long as we're doing good enough, that's fine with me. And he walks past at one point a poster for a movie that she's in, doesn't even look at it, just walks right past it, whatever, has probably come to terms with like
He probably walks.
that was 5 years ago. It is what it is.
He walks past it every day. I bet.
Right. And so we go back, and she gets in, sits down with her husband at a table. Seb finishes. He comes up on stage after the band starts playing.
The place is
stops
packed,
playing.
by the way. All the seats are full.
Yeah, and he thanks all of his musicians, and then he looks out into the crowd and sees Mia, and he pauses for a second as they both exchange like a glance, and he says, "Welcome to Seb's."
Welcome to Seb.
And then he sits down at the piano and starts to play a song, which is like a melody of basically all of the music we've heard throughout the movie.
I also think the way that he says "Welcome to Seb's," the way that it hits my brain is that his tone changes a little bit. It's a little bit more deeper and raspy, and the way that I take this is that it almost feels like he's saying it under his breath, almost either to himself or to her specifically.
Do you think it's like a, damn, she found out I didn't name it chicken on a stick?
Oh.
She wasn't supposed to know.
She wasn't
Shit.
supposed to know. Damn it. Copyright. No, but I feel like in the moment that they lock eyes to each other, I mean, she's got a look on her face that she is, well, they both do. They're both shocked to see each other. But I get the idea that when they lock eyes and when he says "Welcome to Seb's," there's no one else in the room. He's saying that to himself or to her. And that's why he's going from, "Hey, I'm a host," and I'm, "Hey, that guy, hey, don't steal my piano job," to and "Welcome to Seb's."
Yeah.
You know, it's a very, very different tone, and it's very, very subtle, but I'd like to think that was done on purpose.
Yeah.
I've watched this movie a lot. So that's on it.
Well, here's where I'm going to really pick your brain.
Okay.
So from here, Seb starts playing the piano, and we cut into this beautifully done,
Oh, God.
super artsy, almost like what if situation, where we see it play back to that night where they ran into each other in the restaurant, and instead of just bumping past her, he just grabs her and kisses her. And from there, their relationship is in full swing. They're completely supportive. He shows up to her one-woman show.
It's full. It's packed.
He doesn't join the band. He goes with her to Paris. He plays in jazz clubs in Paris. They have a kid. They come back. She's successful. He's there.
He's doing his own gigs.
Right. So he's like playing piano and stuff, basically sort of like what he was doing in the beginning. He never joins the band. He doesn't open up his own club.
Doesn't go on tour.
But they're together. They have a family. They've got like this idyllic
They got a house.
life going on. And it's everything is very stylized at this point. It's clear that like it's a movie backdrop thing. You got people dancing, you got these fake looking props and stuff, and it's, you know, sort of a symbol of like her being a movie star and kind of whatever the movie industry going through all that stuff. And then they sit down in like a theater with a projection started, and it kind of shows like this life of home video of them with their son and like being happy and stuff. And then they show up at this club, this jazz club, and they're in the crowd watching just some random musicians play instead of what she has currently. So the question is, what is that whole thing? Is it supposed to be a symbol of, is it him? My thing is it him during his song thinking about if he didn't chase his dreams and just stuck with her, this is what he could have had? And it's not necessarily her thinking about it, because it's her getting everything she wanted, but he doesn't get anything. So is it him while playing thinking, if I would have just given up everything to be with her, what could my life have been like? Or is it supposed to be like a snapshot of both of them thinking of what their perfect situation would be? Because to me, he doesn't end up with anything that he wanted. I mean, he gets her and like a family, but he doesn't get his dreams or anything. He's just like a stay-at-home dad at that point. So is it really as positive as it tries to look?
I think also, by the way, I didn't do it as bad tonight. I did cry, but I didn't the first time for sure. Second time a little bit. Everything after that ever so slightly. I sobbed so hard that I was doing like those silent cries. So I think in my head, which by the way, the scene when they're on the highway and they do the exit where they go to that place, I was there. I saw that. I took that exit, just saying, and that I'm done. No more. That was the last one. I think that it's both of them together because I took that as she does get, her dream, and he's maybe, I don't know. I kind of think just based on the snippets of how excited he is for her and being in Paris and all of these things, I feel like maybe his priorities shifted a little bit. Maybe he does end up, maybe he would have ended up still opening something. But it's something about the idea, and there are a couple, I think there's another movie or so where you get an entire what if that just, I think that hits everybody in some way. In some way, everyone in their life has to think, if this had happened and this had happened, where would I have been now? So it's a very realistic thing to think about, but it's another to see it done in a sequence like this. But I think that the scenes of them having a kid, there's a scene where she goes and she does an audition and they're silhouettes. I love that she's gone in, she's doing an audition, it's just her silhouette, and you just see him
that's
supportively.
the audition to get what launched her career.
Launched her. But
because
he's
we
there.
see when they're walking through and there's like the dance number and the bridge and everything, the lady who comes out and grabs her and says come with me is the one who was like, I'm so glad we found you.
Yeah. I love that though, because it's just showing that he's still so supportive of her. And the dance sequence is beautiful. The medley is beautiful. I love that we're seeing all of these little throwbacks to little things throughout the movie in this montage of what could have been. And yeah, I think that it was a mutual longing, a mutual want, but also them at the same time realizing this is where the ball bounced, this is where we ended up, and just fate bringing them together for this time for them to lock eyes and be able to see you're doing okay, I'm doing okay, and being able to there's a scene in the end before she leaves Seb's, the club, that they look at each other, and at first it's a very serious look, and then it sort of bleeds into a bit of a smile and a comforting grin. And I'd like to think that within that facial expression between the two of them, they're saying a lot.
Yeah.
They're not saying anything to each other, but they're saying a lot at the same time. And yeah, I think there's something poetic, sad, but very, very poetic about it.
Yeah. I think the last look is just a happy, like, yeah, this is bums out, but we both have achieved what we wanted.
Yeah. And there's a little bit of in him making sure that that place was named Seb's, I think solidifies a little speckle of them in it to remember, fondly.
Yeah.
So
So that's the end of the movie. We did totally skip over and forget to mention City of Stars.
yeah.
Which is definitely my favorite song in the movie. They sit down at a piano and they sing. Sebastian's playing piano and sings a song called City of Stars, and Mia jumps in, and it's a very cute scene where they're singing together and there's like laughs and giggles. It's great.
Do you have any cute stories about that song?
No, do I?
You don't think so?
You want to tell your
No,
cute stories?
No, you go ahead.
The way you've been telling stories are really interesting today.
What is that? Long-winded lies?
No, by like beating around the bush
Oh.
to tell the story.
No, you go right ahead.
Well, I don't know what you want me to say.
It was your idea.
That I bought you some hibiscus flowers once and copy and pasted the lyrics from that onto a note.
Where has it been ever since?
Oh yeah, she keeps it on like the refrigerator or something. Right over there, I can see it.
Yeah. Yeah. He sent me flowers for an anniversary or a birthday or maybe just a willy-nilly. I don't remember.
I don't know, but they bloomed on your birthday.
They did. They did bloom on my birthday. But he put the lyrics to that song on the card inside. It's very... It was
Very romantic.
very rare and romantic.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Uh-huh.
No, this movie just is such a fantastic movie. I don't know if I said it in the beginning, but it's my opinion that
Here we go. Hot take.
hot take, La La Land was supposed to win the Oscar. I said it.
It won the Oscar.
For a second.
Yeah, for like 5 seconds.
For 5 seconds. And I would remember watching it live.
It won a few Oscars, though.
I know it won a few.
6
but,
Academy Award wins.
yeah, but not the big one.
I mean, Best Director is pretty damn good. Best Director, Best Actress, Best Cinematography, Best Original Song.
When they unfortunately said that they won, I shot up out of my seat. I was clapping, and then the whole thing happened where like, no,
No, Moonlight.
Moonlight.
You guys won.
I literally put my hands over my mouth and I gasped as if like I just watched a car accident happen. That's how important it was to me. No.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a good movie too, but
Moonlight is a great movie.
this was better.
I don't know about that.
It's a fantastic movie.
Yeah.
Do you know how long I searched online to find this yellow dress?
No.
I'm pointing to the DVD, by the way. The yellow dress that she wears
Blu-ray.
when they dance. Searched for it long and hard. Can't find it.
So, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You ever think it was like a custom-made thing?
Yeah.
You know, like a costume department or something, maybe put it together. So yeah, anyway, she definitely loves the movie more than I do. I do enjoy the movie. I do like the movie quite a bit. I wouldn't say that it's like my favorite musical, and I also don't think that it should have. I think Moonlight was my pick to win Best Picture. So when they announced La La Land, I was like, no way. Like, cool, good job.
Patrick also got 2 things for me that were also La La Land related. What were those?
The Seb's poster that we have up in the living room.
I bought that for you.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And then I don't know, what was the second thing? What?
The vinyl.
I bought the vinyl.
I know. I'm saying you got.
Oh, I got things for you.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you said you got things for me.
No.
Oh, the vinyl.
You got the vinyl,
Uh-huh.
and then you got, and then it was Christmas that you got the record player, and then to surprise me that you got a record player.
Oh, yeah.
I had to close my eyes, and then you put the La La Land vinyl on it
Yes.
and played it. And I
Yeah.
was like, "Ah."
And there's a clip of that you can see on Twitch.
Yeah. So I've listened to that vinyl a lot.
I thought. Okay. Yeah.
I have.
I did get you those things.
Yes, you
That's
did.
true. Okay, well, thank you for listening to this episode.
Thanks for letting me go on many, many tangents.
I don't know what we might be doing next.
I don't know.
We'll kind of figure that one out. But I do really suggest people watch La La Land. I think for a number of reasons. Like, if you don't really like musicals, it would not necessarily be the first musical I'd suggest you'd watch. I'd you know, depending on the type of music you'd like, I'd say Sing Street, for example, first. But there is no denying that, like, this movie is full of, like, movie magic or something,
is
I guess.
movie magic.
The very bright, vibrant colors, the dancing, the singing, it feels like an old school, hot, like, up there kind of with, like, Singing in the Rain or something that I would think about. Like, it feels like, you know, if you say Hollywood movie to me, those are the kind of movies I think of. I don't think
Yeah.
of, like, the blockbusters like Avatar or Marvel or something. Those don't compute in my brain as, like, Hollywood.
Yeah.
If you say Hollywood, I'm thinking, I just instantly think, like, older movies.
Yeah.
And it's known that Damien Chazelle is, like, obsessed with old Hollywood, and that's what a lot of his movies are around, that and jazz. And this, like, is the baby of those two things sort of mixed together, and it works out very well. I also love Ryan Gosling, and Emma Stone won Best Actress for this performance. So
They were so great. And their chemistry is great. They've worked together since then in movies.
yes,
And
before that.
before that.
So
Really, really great chemistry. Just all around a fantastic movie. Even though having the vinyl album of it, I still have most of the music in my iTunes playlist that I'll listen to while I'm
Yeah.
doing stuff or cleaning, and it's catchy, it's fun, it makes you laugh, and if you're sensitive like me, it makes you cry. Yeah.
Yeah, so if you enjoyed listening, give us a follow here. You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, COAS_podcast, or Chicken on a Stick. We also have a live show we do every Friday over at Twitch. You can find those links and everything on the Instagram and Facebook and all that stuff. Or just follow us anywhere that you hear this podcast. Give us a review, a rating, a score, thumbs up, like, comment, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
And hopefully we'll be back next week with something else.
Yeah. And if you have seen it, say what your favorite song from the movie is, or maybe what your favorite scene is.
Yeah.
Because they're all so great. It's so hard to choose.
City of Stars.
City Stars is pretty good. The opening is. But yeah. Thank you so much for listening.
All right. Goodbye.
Bye.